if he has any remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Let me first thank you for this very important hearing. I agree with you. It's a very important hearing. I also want to echo your words about our gratitude for the witnesses that are here. You're all busy, so we appreciate you being here. We must ensure that effective oversight is there to avoid wasteful spending, and so I agree with the chairwoman. We cannot afford another repeat of the TARP bailout fiasco that we've been hearing and reading about. In this case, Congress is proposing spending billions more, and we have an obligation to ensure that those funds will be spent appropriately and without waste and without problems. Last month, the House passed the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Yesterday, we all know the Senate passed out their version. Now, while the stated purpose of this legislation is to create jobs and to promote economic recovery, there are some real questions, frankly, as to whether the different proposals would, in reality, provide the taxpayer with the best return on their investment, the best bang for the buck. Now, specifically here, we are focusing on GSA and the General Service Administration. The House-passed bill includes $7.7 billion for federal building fund. The Senate is now proposing $5.5 billion, and that's in addition to the billions more that are going to the individual agencies for their capital projects, obviously. Now, while the proposal provides some additional funding to the Inspector General and some transparency provisions, I clearly am very concerned still that the provisions wouldn't provide for meaningful congressional oversight of capital projects. And some of those things that we've been talking about are not included in this legislation. Now, we know that at the full committee hearing we heard, Madam Chairwoman, last month regarding the stimulus project, the proposal, that the GSO recommended 3 guiding principles for GSA projects, and they are the following. Number 1, to create well-defined goals based on identified areas of interest. Number 2, to incorporate performance and accountability into funding decisions. And 3, employ the best tools and approaches to emphasize return on investment. None of these practical suggestions to help avoid wasteful spending of the taxpayers' dollars has been incorporated into the legislation. None of them. Instead, we have mechanisms that will only serve to highlight the problems after the money has already been obligated or spent. I repeat that, after the money has been either obligated or spent, which is highly unacceptable. We know that the potential for waste is huge. Federal real property has been on the GAO's high-risk list since 2003, and according to the GAO, long-standing problems in the federal real property area have multi-billion-dollar cost implications to the taxpayer. Now, unfortunately, the proposals pending in Congress would appropriate billions of dollars with little accountability. The funds for GSA will be going into the hands of the GSA bureaucracy. The bureaucracy would determine how to spend those funds however the bureaucracy sees fit. In fact, there seems to be little that would prevent funds from being used for projects that this committee specifically has intentionally rejected. We can and need to hold hearings. That's why I'm so grateful to this chairwoman who was very aggressive about this, oversight hearings like today's. But we also know that GSA will be responding to competing interests. And we understand the process, how it works. And given that there's explicit language in the Senate proposal regarding courthouses, for example, GSA could very well decide to spend $1 billion on a single project that this committee repeatedly refused to approve because of the wasteful nature of that proposal. Now, while such projects would be reported to the appropriations committees and posted on the newly created recovery.gov website, not even the standard checks and balances normally in place for such projects would apply. Hard to believe. The proposed bill not only ignores the prospectus process normally required for such projects, this committee is not even included in the reporting requirements mandated in the legislation. Again, not acceptable. Another concern that I have relates to whether the proposal focuses enough on the actual creation of jobs, which obviously, as we know, is the stated purpose of this legislation. Now, for example, while energy efficiency is something that the federal government should strive for and that we all support, it seems that energy efficiency and conservation is given greater consideration in the pending proposals than is job creation. Now remember, this is supposed to be a job creation bill. That is the purpose of the bill. The House-passed bill gives priority to projects that will create the greatest impact on energy efficiency and conservation. The Senate version goes even further to require that nearly half of the proposed funds are used to convert GSA facilities into high-performance green buildings, as defined by the Energy Independence and Security Act, not to create jobs, which is supposedly the purpose of the legislation. While creating efficient buildings is a noble goal that we all share, and that obviously might have long-term benefits, it seems to trump consideration of the immediate need for job creation and economic stimulus, which I repeat is supposedly the purpose of the bill. If we are going to spend billions of taxpayers' dollars to stimulate the economy and create jobs, as I repeat, supposedly is what the bill is for, we should have a bill that ensures that such a stimulus effect is maximized and is prioritized. One option, for example, is using acquisition as a stimulus. Now, while the proposed bill does not explicitly mention that you can acquire property as an option, they do allow for projects authorized under existing GSA authorities, which may include acquisition of buildings. Now, such authorities should be encouraged, and I am pleased that GSA in its testimony says that it's exploring those options. There are many development projects that have either stalled or at risk of, frankly, stalling because of the economy. This potentially creates an opportunity for the taxpayers to acquire needed property at a significant savings to the taxpayers, and also putting people to work immediately, which is the supposed purpose of this bill. At the same time, such investment will help to stabilize economic development projects that local economies are relying upon to help their neighborhoods and create sustainable jobs. Again, however, I remain concerned. This legislation could be a good opportunity, could be a great opportunity to put in place real solutions that may help ensure and address ongoing challenges related to real property management. Instead, unfortunately, the proposed legislation seems to do little to address these concerns, and in fact, may lead to more wasteful spending. We should not repeat the mistakes made on the bailout bill, on the TARP bill, of writing a blank check. There must be meaningful oversight and accountability. I am now, Madam Chairman, and I'm working on it right now, I'm drafting a resolution that will, at the very least, provide some direction to a GSA on avoiding wasteful projects and spending. That resolution would make clear that funds should not be spent on projects that this committee has rejected, include this committee on any reporting requirements, and ensure that we know the number of jobs that each project will generate. I hope that this resolution could be a first step, again, just a first step, in providing some guidance to GSA and to minimize the very real chance of wasteful, out-of-control spending. I plan to introduce this resolution later today, and I hope that other members of the committee would join me in sponsoring it. Now, again, while there are very worthy and necessary projects in the pipeline that need to be funded, and which actually may help to support needed jobs, we must ensure that such large commitments of taxpayers' dollars are properly used and managed. And we must ensure that the priority is job creation, that's the purpose of this bill. So I hope that these issues can be addressed, and I look forward to hearing from the witnesses on these and other issues, and I want to, once again, thank the chairwoman for her leadership on these issues.